Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Valenti here with another CTreySports one-on-one interview. Today, I have the honor of being joined by NASCAR on Fox pit reporter Jamie Little. Jamie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Just enjoying a little off-season time from NASCAR finally, and spending time with the family, and of course, looking forward to 2023 already.
Yes, absolutely. How was your Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was great. Got to be with my two kids and my husband, and we went to Vegas, where I'm from, and spent it with my parents and enjoyed some nice weather. And now back home in Indianapolis, where it's cold.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you have any? Do you have any particular plans for Christmas coming up?
We're just going to be here at home. We'll host a bunch of people, a lot of family, and we'll go somewhere for New Year's, and then we'll be back home getting ready for NASCAR.
All right, awesome. So let's to start off here. Let's kind of go back to the beginning here. How did your love of motorsports begin?
Well, since I grew up on the West Coast, I was going to San Diego State at the time. Actually, I was already kind of working when I was going to San Diego State, but I lived in Southern California, and that is the mecca for motocross and supercross racing. And of course, Vegas, I moved there when I was 12, and that's when I was first introduced to supercross. And I just loved the sport. I was always a tomboy. So it made sense that I kind of gravitated toward it. But then I learned the sport, and I quickly realized that there were no women. Nobody looked like me that was covering the sport. You know, there were models and such in magazines, but there was nobody on TV that was really a voice for the sport. And I remember one day just thinking, I want to tell these stories, and why can't it be me behind the mic? So that's really where it all started. I went up to a guy that had an ESPN microphone and said, hey, this is what I want to do. And it turned out he was a freelancer from San Diego. And he's like, you can come along to local shoots and learn the ropes. And I did that for about 2.5 years. And my first job was with ESPN, and the rest was history.
Wow, that is so amazing that you were able to get that experience early on. That's so cool.
Yes, it was really neat. I was very lucky that I found something I was so passionate about, and I had a mission, and going to school was just kind of a side project to just kind of prove to myself I could do it. And I wanted to learn more things about writing and journalism, but I was working while going to school. So I got the most out of my education, I think, too, while also, you know, my classmates, they didn't have any experience. So they were seeing me on TV, and they would ask me questions, and you know, I was somebody out doing it. I wasn't a professor that hadn't done it in quite a while. You know, things change so quickly in this business. So it was really unique in how I was working and going to school at the same time. I really maximized both.
Right, and when you were at San Diego State, like you know, you're majoring in journalism. What I guess in terms of your classes, in terms of your coursework, what are the most important lessons that you learned during your time there?
I think the most important lesson was learn how to write, and the rest will follow. You know, you could take broadcast classes and all that, and that might teach you how to do the news. But I really found that, and other people also said this along the way, learn how to write, and then you'll speak well, and it'll come through on television. And also something else I learned, my first job was a live announcer. I announced Supercross in front of thousands of people in stadiums across the country. And I always say that to aspiring, you know, broadcasters for television, radio, whatever it may be, is go to your local track or go to your local football game or get involved in high school or college and do whatever it takes. You know, get those jobs where you're speaking live in front of people. You really learn how to speak on your feet. You know, you in the clutch moments, you just have to be there. You have to know what to say. And that teaches you everything you need to know for live television.
Yeah. I would definitely say that in broadcasting, you know, learning how to do public speaking and becoming comfortable in that area is just so important. You know.
Yes, because it's not just, you know, the way that you look or the way that you present. It's the way that you deliver. It's how you carry yourself and the story that you're telling. You know, people are going to listen to you if you're believable, if you're comfortable and confident, in what you're saying. And I think it's a total package. You can't just be a great storyteller, or you can't just be good at delivering. You've got to have everything kind of together to really, be successful and be there for the long haul.
Yes, absolutely. I 100% agree with you there. You've had just so many amazing moments throughout your career. A historic one was in 2004. You became the first female pit reporter to cover the Indy 500 on television. What was your mindset going into that race, knowing that you were making history and that, I mean, obviously the Indy 500 is such just a massive, massive event.
It really is. I mean, I had just started covering the IndyCar series a couple of months before that, and I was the regular pit reporter. But going into that race, the 500, they already had their broadcasters set, and I wasn't supposed to be one of them. I was going to be there throughout the month of May, covering practice and qualifying. Well, I guess my bosses were happy with what I was doing during the month of May, that they asked me to be part of the big team. So here I was, me again, among, I think, 8 or 9 gentlemen that had been there for years and years. So we took this group photo for ABC Sports, and it's me in the middle and all the guys that I looked up to, gentlemen that have been there for a long time. And I remember calling my mom the night before the race, and I said, what have I got myself into? There's no going back now. This is the biggest race in our country. And I know I'm the first one to do it, but that wasn't really on my mind. Like, I'm the first woman, I better deliver. It was just more like, I'm only 24 years old and I'm going up against, this huge race, and I can't falter. There are so many eyeballs on me. I've never had a bigger opportunity. And the day that the race came, I was just in my glory. It was the hardest day I've ever had, just because it was so long. We had rain delays and I think an 8.5-hour broadcast. It was crazy. But by the end, it was like, God, that was so much fun. And that was my biggest accomplishment to that date.
Absolutely. I can only imagine just what it was like, getting to be there, and everything, because the Brickyard, it's such a historic track too. Where does the Brickyard rank among all the tracks that you've been to, just in terms of your favorites?
Of all the tracks I've been to, and that includes some in Mexico and where else? Canada, I guess, or international tracks that I've been to, I would say IMS, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, is hands down the most famous, most amazing racetrack I've ever been to. And I think many people would agree. The Daytona 500, Daytona International Speedway is right there behind him. But just the history and the prestige of the Brickyard, there's nothing like it. Nothing compares to it.
Yes, I would have to agree. I took a tour. I took a tour once there, and oh my gosh, so much fun. I love that place. Now the next year in 2005, you had a couple really cool things going on. A certain video game came out called MX World Tour featuring you. You yourself, Jamie Little. You had the incredible honor of having a motocross video game named in your honor. You were also a playable character in the game. It's something I just found so cool.
Yeah.
What
I have it right there, right up, right there.
Yep, I see it. Yep, there it is. Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Honestly, I think that the Supercross riders were too expensive and they couldn't get a rider. And they came to me and said, hey, will you be part of the video game? And then after we started working together, they said, we're just going to make you the face of it. And they named it MX World Tour featuring Jamie Little, which was so crazy to me because I was just a broadcaster for the sport. But, fans kind of resonated with me, related to me, and they felt like it was a good fit for the video game. And yeah, it was on, it was a couple different game systems, PlayStation and one other one, but it was pretty cool. Nintendo, I think at that point, maybe. But yeah, that was pretty neat that you could change the outfits for riding and different races. And it was really cool.
Yeah. Because when I saw that, I just thought, wow, that's so cool. Not many people get to have their name attached to a video game, so that's a pretty cool honor. I'm curious. I'm sure you played it, right? So what was your experience like actually playing the game?
Yeah, it was so weird. Like, it's this video game, dirt bikes, and it's mostly men, and then there's me, and it's not just a girl, it's me, and it was just so cool how they put it all together, and it was a fun game. Remember back in the day, like the car racing games or Supercross or the street bike races, those were always so much fun in arcades. So when this came out, it reminded me of that.
Yes, absolutely. And then also in 2005, a certain movie called Fantastic Four was released, one of my favorites, and you had the honor of being in the movie. You shared the screen with Chris Evans. What was that whole experience like?
That was wild. My world is all live TV, live event. And then you shoot a movie, they're very particular about the lines. You have your script and you got to stick by your script. The cool part was, though, that I played myself. So it wasn't a stretch. However, I had to remember my lines, and I was next to Chris Evans. And it was a very pivotal point in that movie where we unveil the Thing and Jessica Alba's character. And, I asked the names of them, and it's kind of the unveiling of their names. And it was a big part of the movie. And it was so crazy. Those moments are so special. And then when the movie comes out, and then all of a sudden my kids see it, and you realize, like, that was so cool. I wish I had more opportunities like that, because it really is neat. And it's something that's always there, and a reminder. I think I have that right up there too. Right next to the video game.
Yep,
There's
yep.
wait, that's Supercross the movie. Oh, there it is. There's Fantastic Four right there. Yeah. So you see, this is kind of my one little spot in the whole house that has some memorabilia and things that are special to me from throughout the years.
Yeah, like do you ever catch the movie on TV? Like just whenever it's on?
Yes, a couple of times that has happened. That's when my kids have seen it, and they're like, "What? How are you in this movie? That doesn't make sense. Like, you do racing. Why are you in this movie?" It's pretty funny.
Yes, absolutely. I'm curious. What would you say is your favorite piece of memorabilia behind you, if you had to pick?
What's really cool? I would say this. This is an official brick from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Not
Oh,
many people
wow.
get to have those, and I was given that as a gift. So it says right here, an original brick from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So that one's pretty special. I mean, just going back to the history that you talked about, being the first woman on pit road there for the 500. So I'll always cherish that one.
Wow, that is amazing. That is definitely cool to have. So now I want to talk about an event that no longer happens anymore, but that I have such fond memories of, especially as the new year is coming around. You used to cover the Red Bull New Year No Limits ESPN specials back in the day, which I was I adored them. I was always looking forward to them. Unfortunately, they don't do them anymore. What was it like covering those events? And do you think the event should possibly be brought back at some point?
That is so funny that you asked that. Nobody has ever asked me about those events. And those were some of the most amazing. I was part of X Games for about 13, 14 years. So I saw some incredible things. But New Year's No Limits took it to another level. It always ran right after the bowl game on New Year's Eve. And it was something huge, whether, it was, who was it? I think Travis Pastrana was in a couple. Yeah. We had Robbie Madison do a couple amazing feats on the Las Vegas Strip. Those were amazing events. And I've often thought that we need to bring it back in some way. And since I've been with Fox, I think that's something that I would love to chat with them about, because I think that there's an audience for it. Anybody can watch. You don't have to know racing. You don't have to know these guys. You can just watch it and appreciate the wow factor.
Yes, absolutely. Because I've been wanting those events to come back. So if Fox brought it back, that would be awesome. I would no doubt watch.
Yes, I think a lot of people would. It's not a bad idea. I need to do that. Thanks for reminding me.
Hey, of course, no problem. So how did you get your start in covering a NASCAR specifically?
Well, it started with my live announcing with Supercross. And then with that, I was kind of doing little side jobs on like ESPN2, rock crawling and offshore powerboat racing for Speed Channel, just random jobs that taught me a tremendous amount. I mean, I'm so thankful. Most people have to go to a small market to learn television, and I actually got to do it on a national scale, but with just unique events. And then from Supercross, I went into television covering Supercross and motocross. And then ESPN came to me in 2004 and said, do you want to do IndyCar racing? Well, that was a whole new world. It was same mentality racing wise, but it was four wheels and it was completely different. So once I started covering IndyCar, ESPN got the contract back for NASCAR starting in 2007, and they added me to their lineup for NASCAR. So ESPN kind of took me through all of those steps throughout my career, and now I've been there for 15 seasons already covering NASCAR.
Wow, that's just amazing. That is amazing. And you just mentioned that of course you're working for ESPN. A memorable moment that you got caught up in during your time at ESPN covering NASCAR was a race and a crazy little event that happened that I was there in person because I'm from Texas, so I was in attendance at this race. I believe I want to say it was around like 2014, I think. Yes. AAA Texas 500. Yeah. It's when Brad Keselowski gets into a big scuffle with Jeff Gordon, and then I believe it was Harvick who pushed Keselowski, and it was just crazy. What was the experience like being in the middle of all that?
That was crazy. I don't know. I've always been one that gravitates toward the fights. I love emotion. I love just when people get fired up. I love being there to show the different sides. I just love it. And I knew this was going to happen because it was a playoff race at the time. And I was covering Keselowski and Jeff, so I can hear their radios. So when we were a couple laps to go to the finish, I walked all the way down to where they were going to stop the cars because I knew something was going to happen and I'll be there and be ready for it. So Brad gets out of his car and I'm standing with him, and then all this crowd starts to form. Well, then Jeff gets out of his car and there's so many people he can't see what's going on. And there's actually a shot of me on camera pointing to Brad so Jeff can see where Brad is, because I'm like, you're looking for him. Come say what you want to say. So he walks in, and then the pushing and shoving, and then there was probably 300 people around me, and you could hear the punches being thrown. I mean, by people everywhere. Couple of gentlemen tried to pull me out, and I was like, you better get out of here. I was here first, and I'm going to talk to Brad as soon as this settles. So it was wild. I think a lot of people realize maybe that I'm kind of tough, and I don't shy away from that stuff. I'm tall, I'm 5'10", so it's not like I get lost in the shuffle and in the crowd. So it was crazy. And looking back, that's definitely a moment that many of us won't forget.
Yes, absolutely. It was crazy seeing it in the stands because we're all going nuts in the stands, but obviously you were in the middle of it, so I can but I greatly respect you for like being in the middle of all that, of all these bodies, and everything like that takes guts. It does.
Yeah, it's adrenaline, and I'm there to do a job, and I could not lose sight of Brad to hear his side and what exactly happened with Jeff and why he got into him. And that's kind of just what your mindset is. No matter what it takes, this is my job. I was here and I'm live TV. I need to talk to him first. And you don't let your guard down, and you're taking it all in and the chaos and everything, but it's not until afterwards you're like, wow, that was insane.
Yep, absolutely. But hey, I think that just shows what a great reporter and journalist you are, Jamie. Absolutely.
Anything for the job, right?
Yes, absolutely. I actually want to get your thoughts on just a couple of things kind of going on in NASCAR right now. There's a big youth movement in NASCAR going on at the moment. Is there like a certain young driver, or are there a couple young drivers that really stand out to you the most?
Gosh, that's hard to say. There's so many now in their 20s. I mean, everyone from William Byron, even Chase Elliott. We call him a veteran now, but he still is one of the young guys. Tyler Reddick is really impressive. He's flashy, showy, loves to run the high side, loves to run the wall, not afraid to put it in there, if that's what it takes to win. And I love somebody like that with that passion and that heart. I think that his future is very bright. I can't wait to see what he does with 23XI and 23. Who else? Ty Gibbs. We all know that guy's fiery, and he is so super talented. So I have no doubt he's going to be around for a long time. going to win a lot of races, and we'll be talking about him all the time, whether you love him or hate him. We're going to be talking about him because I think he's kind of like the new Kyle Busch in different ways. So we're definitely not hurting in the young youth movement, I guess you would call it.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's really really cool seeing all these young drivers coming into NASCAR, and all of them are trying to make their mark. So I think it's a really exciting time in the sport.
Definitely, I agree. It's a great time to be part of NASCAR, especially with the new car this year. It produced 19 different winners. I mean, that was amazing to see. I think there's going to be some changes for next year and just going to make that new car even better and race even better. So it's a great time to be a NASCAR fan right now.
Right, and then next year, something that's really cool that NASCAR is doing, they're holding a street race in Chicago. What are your thoughts on this? This is definitely something very different than NASCAR is doing. And just what do you think of NASCAR's, I guess, overall attempts to gain a new long-term fans?
I think it's great. NASCAR needs to do something like that. We can't keep doing the same thing. We need to bring in new fans, and we need to take NASCAR to the people. And that's what we saw NASCAR do this year in February when we went to the LA Coliseum for the Clash. I think that was incredible that they did that. It was such an undertaking, but it was all about growing the sport. And 70% of the fans there had never been to a NASCAR race before. That's really what it's all about. So bringing this street course now, a street course for NASCAR, that is so cool. We don't do that. This is something, that Formula One and IndyCar has done forever. But now we're bringing it to the people in Chicago, a huge major city. They're going to shut down their roads for us to race. And I think people love to have an event, and a street course is an event. The Long Beach Grand Prix is one that I always point to. People go there not because there's an auto race going on, but because it's a party. It's a good time. It's an event that they need to be at. And that's what this street course will be like. Then you add in all the NASCAR fans. Then you add in the people that are just curious. And I think people will quickly realize and see NASCAR racing is the best kind of racing. We can rub fenders and we can push each other and go in the wall, and we're not going to be out of the race. So I think people are going to see a great spectacle, I think, in Chicago.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, and I can't wait to watch it. I think it's something just very very unique, and like you said, I would not be surprised if NASCAR can really gain some new fans from this, because I think a lot of people are going to be watching this race.
Definitely, yep, I hope so.
And then just overall, what do you think the future has in store for NASCAR? For NASCAR, just maybe looking ahead like 10 years into the future.
I hope that in 10 years we are racing internationally at least a few times a year. I think NASCAR has such a great product, and the rest of the world is used to seeing Formula One. NASCAR is such a different style that I think people would love it, and I think we need to bring it to the people. We used to go to Canada for a truck race, and we went to Mexico for an Xfinity race, but we really need to take Cup, I think, international, and maybe just 2 or 3 times a year, add that to the schedule. That would be really good to see. A really good mix is what they're creating. I don't think we need to go to any racetrack more than once a year. That's where I think the future really is for the sport.
I think that would be super cool. It's kind of like what the NFL does with their international games, and bringing the game of American football to people in like Europe and Mexico and all these different places.
Yeah, and it's always a big hit. I mean, you're really reaching new people that don't get to see it and experience it all of the time. And I think it's so worth it. I mean, you watch a football game on TV, it looks the same as it does in the United States. And I think NASCAR would be the same. But for the people there, that's really what it's all about. And then you get that TV audience that is international, that's curious and wants to see a race, wherever it is, whether it's Japan or Canada, Mexico, wherever it may be.
Yes, absolutely. Now I wanted to what was that?
Oh, I have 4 dogs, so they hear something outside, and they like to jump in on my meetings from time again.
Yes. You have a great love of dogs. Actually, it's really cool. I think you got to cover the Westminster Dog Show, I believe, as well.
Yes, I get to do that with Fox. That was something I begged my bosses to let me do, and just make it happen no matter what my NASCAR schedule is. And I've done it for the last 3 years, and it is such a passion of mine. Dogs of all shapes and sizes. I'm big into rescue, and getting the message out about how many amazing dogs are in shelters and need homes. And I've got 4 rescues here. I've got one here. She's very needy. So yes, that's my passion project when I'm not on the road covering NASCAR.
Hey, well, that's awesome. That's really fantastic, and I really admire your rescue efforts. I think that's wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it fills my heart. That's for sure.
Yes, absolutely. I want to talk about the great work that you're doing for ARCA. You're doing play-by-play, which is super cool for the ARCA series. What was your reaction when you got that job?
It was all kinds of emotion. I had gone to my boss and said I wanted to give it a shot. And he said, all right, that's good to know. If there's a spot that they can, throw me in, fill in for somebody, great. Well, he called me back 2 weeks later and said, what do you think about doing the ARCA Menards series? Their races on Fox. They had 8 that year, 9 this year. And I said, well, that would be perfect. A good number, it'd get me some reps. And I don't know this series at all. I'll have to learn these new faces and these drivers for me. And so I was so excited, but there was so much attention on it. Just, the nature of the first time a female is covered a national racing series. And it was a responsibility I saw it as. I know people are looking at me like, okay, can women do it? Can they succeed? Young ladies are saying, well, this is something I've always wanted to do, but nobody's done it before. So I didn't think it was possible. Definitely a responsibility when you're the first to do something, but it has been such a learning process, a challenge. It's a new skill set from being a reporter, and I love it. I've come to really enjoy calling a race. It's like sitting around with your buddies, calling it like I would at home, but the world is listening to you do it.
Yes, absolutely. I'm curious, what's your prep like, for those events that you're doing play-by-play for?
Yeah, it's pretty similar to my reporting duties, but you don't tell as many stories and you're not doing as much in the moment because that's what you have reporters on the air for. So it's like a different type of storytelling. You're introducing people to these young drivers or older drivers that people may be watching for the first time. And it's following that story, following the ball, as they say in the race. So it's a little bit different, but it's utilizing your analysts, it's utilizing your reporters to tell the stories and really button everything up in the show. But I'm like an air traffic control cop. That's really what it's like. You're kind of the eyes and ears for all things on screen. And then you have your team all around you kind of making it all come together.
Right. And between pit reporting and play-by-play, is there one that you find more enjoyable, or do you just kind of enjoy both?
I enjoy both because they are so different. They're really different enough, but I'm so comfortable on pit road. Obviously, I've done it for so long. There's nothing like getting in there in the garage, having those relationships, being able to walk up into any hauler and talk to any driver or crew chief that I wish. I mean, that's really special. I've never taken that for granted. And that's special. But, getting in a booth and calling a race is amazing. To be in that position and get to see what the race unfolding and what's coming out of my mouth is what people are seeing and hearing. And it's crazy, but they're so different. I love doing both.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. But I think it's amazing that you can do both and both very well. I think that shows what a great broadcaster you are.
Well, thank you. Yeah, just a lot of prep. I've always taken pride in how much I prepare for things, and you can never, take a race for granted because they're always different. The faces, the place, everything, the stats, there's so much in racing, and you've got to be ready for all of it. You're not just covering 2 teams. You're covering every driver in the field, which is usually in ARCA 25 to 32 drivers.
Yes, absolutely. Lastly here, I want to ask you, what advice do you have for aspiring sports journalists?
Oh, advice, I would say find something you're really passionate about. If it's racing, go for it. If it's golf, go for it. Whatever it may be, go for that because you'll love it so much it doesn't feel like work. You'll be willing to put in the time and the effort. You also have to be willing to outwork the next person and, be the first one in and the last to leave. Build those relationships, even if it's, like I said earlier, going to your local track or your local golf course or doing it in high school or college, ask for that microphone, prove to people, you're willing to work and you want to try, and get comfortable in front of a camera and on a microphone. That'll carry you so far. You build that resume reel. You really need the experience, and I say go for it, but start where you're really passionate.
Yeah, yes, that's great advice, and it's very, very important. I would say for people in the business, like people who want to go into broadcast, to get involved and to take those opportunities.
Absolutely. Yep. Anywhere you can. That's exactly what I did, and it really paid off. And I still don't really feel like I'm working. I just have fun. I get to get on a plane and go cover a race. It's pretty special.
Hey, well, that's the mark of a fun job. If you enjoy work, then that's a good thing.
That's exactly right. Yep. That's the secret to life, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Jamie, thank you so much for joining me today. Such an honor to talk to you.
Well, thank you, Sam, for having me. Great questions today, and hopefully I'll see you at a racetrack in the near future.
Yes, of course. I'm here in Phoenix, so maybe I'll catch you at the raceway sometime.
Yes, I go there twice a year, so maybe I'll see you down the road.
Hey, of course, Jamie. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too, Sam. Take care.
Thank you.